Greetings, beloveds. You are in Christina's Corner. I am Christina. Welcome back to the podcast where I have the opportunity and the honor to highlight and celebrate individuals who are out here leveraging their gifts and their talents to help us raise the frequency of our collective humanity. So today, I'm truly honored to welcome my friend and former colleague, Francis Paixao. Francis is a creator, a historian, and a lifelong educator who spent over 2 decades at Mercer County Community College, serving as a senior graphic designer, the director of marketing, and a dedicated union president. However, in 2023, Francis made a pivot that speaks to his heart for service. He transitioned into the classroom at Urban Promise in Camden, New Jersey. Today, he serves as a middle school history teacher, a soccer coach, and an advisor to the student government. He's a man who leads with authenticity, for sure, whether he is designing a brand, advocating for workers' rights, or playing catch with his students. His story is one of resilience, reinvention, and finding purpose in the most unexpected places. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Mr. P. Welcome,
Thank you.
Mr.
What an
P.
intro.
I'm just so excited to have you, and I know we've been talking about it for a while. So thanks for being here. Thanks for making time.
Thank you. This is great.
Great. Well, Francis, in all of my podcast interviews, I always start off the same way. So I'm always going to have 6 questions, and I'm going to double down on some of them so I can get the most out of you. I hope
Sounds
that's
good.
okay. So the first one always starts off with you telling us about your upbringing. What were you like as a kid? And looking back, did you have any clues growing up that you were going to be a creative artist, a historian, or that you were an educator at heart? Talk to us about what you were like.
Well, I was gifted with an incredible mother who was also very creative. She was an artist, and she was very into history as well. Looking
Wow.
back, I can definitely see that. And I mean, she influenced a lot of how I am today. Um, so. Growing up, man, I was very competitive. Um, I was always into sports, and I had a lot of energy. God bless my mother. She came up with a lot of creative ways of funneling and channeling that energy. So, I mean, by the time I was probably in fifth grade, I knew how to sew. I could iron. I did my laundry. I knew how to cook. So she kept me busy. I knew how to do ceramics. I had a loom where I was able to make
Oh, wow.
fabric and scarves, and uh, so pretty much anything that kept me while I was awake, she always had something for me to do. Um, but in terms of the history part, um, like I said, my mother was very into the history. She actually wrote a book about um, our family history, and it goes back to the late 1300s. She was able to find all the records, and she kind of included me in a lot of things um, growing up about the family and the history of the family. And we always had history books, and um, I read a lot. I read all the time. And we had a library, and I would just go into the library. I had full access and would just sit down on the floor. And, when it was snowing, raining, or whatever, and I would be reading books. And they were all history books. And I loved every single one of them. Every book, I just couldn't wait to open up and read what else was waiting there. Uh, Read a lot of biographies, about like Joan of Arc and St. Francis and people of history. So I it was just a natural thing for me. I've always been interested in it. Um, and then the creativity part. Um, again, growing up doing ceramics and sewing and art with my mother, uh, I think it was probably fifth grade that I realized that, you know, I had I had a knack for it. There was a poster competition for a flea market. And I remember coming home and I told my mom, I had never done anything like that before, like entered in a contest or anything. I told my mom, I want to do this because I forget what it was. It was something silly. You get like a cake or something, a cupcake. Um, and she's like, okay, well, let's go to the store. She got me poster board and markers and stuff. And she's like, sat me down at the table and she's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I don't know. What do you think? And she's like, I think you need to think about what it is and come up with an idea. So the idea I came up with was having a dog that was scratching itself and all these fleas were coming off it. I made the fleas really large and on the fleas I had all the parts of the flea market, like the date and everything like that. And I ended up winning the,
Oh,
the contest.
wow.
And
Very
I
cool.
remember coming home and I was really excited. And I remember thinking like, okay, that was pretty cool. And I always look back at that and say, okay, I think that was the time when I thought, okay, I can actually really kind of be creative. And I just didn't, that opened up doors to me and I just went from there. I think I won the poster contest like the next 3 or 4 years in a row. So uh, I had a lot of fun doing that stuff.
Okay.
But
So,
yeah,
so
growing up was great.
yeah, and you kind of had a glimpse of what you were going to do pretty early on, or at
Hmm.
least some of it. So, and I'll get back to something that spurred my attention when you were talking, when we get to
It
another
wasn't my
question.
first career choice though. We can, if you want to
Yeah, we'll
expand
get
on
to
that.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So you started college in advertising design and you followed up with a degree in fine arts and
Hmm.
advertising. Tell us how you first decided on that path. And then, furthermore, during your tenure at Mercer, how did a creative professional end up becoming the union president? And what did that experience teach you about the power of advocacy?
All right. Well, we'll back up to the first part of that in terms of how I started college and went into the, fine arts and advertising. Um, by that time, I took art classes whenever I could in high school. I did AP art, all those courses, honors and everything. So I always knew in the back of my head that that's something that I could do. It actually really kind of came easy to me, I think. But that's not what I wanted to do for a career. Uh, I was, I'm also very strong in science. So I did all AP honors courses in high school,
Oh, wow.
anatomy and
I
physiology
didn't
and
know that.
biology.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to be a marine biologist, um, oceanography. So
Okay.
I applied to the Coast Guard Academy and I got accepted. And but they came back to me and they told me we want you to go to junior college for 2 years because my Achilles heel is math. I'm absolutely horrible in math.
Mm.
So they wanted me to go to take math courses in college. And then they said when you are done with those, you get good grades, you can come in as a freshman to the academy. And I just didn't want to go 6 years in college at that time. And I remember coming home and telling my parents, I think I'm just going to go to art school because I always enjoyed art and I knew I could, easily do that. So that's what I did. I went to art school and got my degree in art. So fast forward, I actually went to Mercer County Community College. I got my associate's degree there before transferring to, at that time, it was Trenton State College. But anyway, so I worked for an agency for about 9, 10 years as their creative director. And my first son was born, and I quit and I stayed home with him for 3 years. I became
Mm.
uh, a home dad, so to speak, which was great. I loved every minute of it. But financially, it wasn't really the right thing to do. So the job came around to college. I applied for it and I got it, and I went from there. Now, in regards to becoming union president, one of the things both my parents taught all of my sisters and brother was service, service for others, be it through community or through the church or whatever. So I always had a sense of service. That's why I wanted to join the Coast Guard, was to serve. Um, so when I got to the college, my boss was involved in the union, and after getting to know her, I guess about 6 months into my career there, she asked me, she's like, "We need somebody to come on as a person that does conflict resolution." So that's what I did. I came on and I did grievances and conflict resolution. And then I became really close friends with the union president, and she asked me to run as vice president. So I became vice president, and I just went from there. After vice president, she retired, and I got elected president. And I was president for, I don't know, 15 years, 12 years. So
Okay.
again, wanting to serve and
Hmm.
helping people and make things better.
And what are some of the things that you took away from that position and working with people and cultivating relationships with people?
Um, I think the biggest thing is no matter what you think about people, there's always a story to it. And no matter what you think, you just need to get to know that person and the situation. Don't judge a book by its cover,
Hmm.
because you're usually wrong about that person. And if you don't mind, I'll relay a story. There was a woman there, an older woman, and I the word around my office was I couldn't do anything right around this woman. She hated me. She just I don't understand why. Uh, but so I remember going over to her, and it was kind of like a cringe moment every time I had to go down there because I knew she was just going to give me a hard time, and she did. And I remember getting really upset this one time, like, I just don't understand why you're giving me such a hard time. This is going on in my head. And instead of like coming out after and, getting all defensive, I kind of like was walking out and I stopped and I turned around and I just put my hand on the desk and I was like, I just asked her, I was like, "How's your mom? How's your mom doing?" Because I knew her mom was sick. And this this woman, I mean, she just like completely melted in front of me.
Oh.
And she became my best friend at the college.
Hmm.
And it did like a complete reversal. And it's really just that you just got to take that one moment to try to understand what's causing or what that person is dealing with. So
Hmm.
I'll never forget that.
Wow. That's a great example.
So.
And that really speaks a lot to your mindset and being open-minded and being able to see both sides of a situation. It really speaks to kind of like your upbringing because, you know, from back in the day, I don't want to say that our ages are the same, but we'll say somewhere close. But to tell your parents that you wanted to major in art, you know, would be a tough conversation to have with a lot of old school parents, right? So the fact
Mhm.
that your parents not only supported you with that, but celebrated that with you and encouraged you for service speaks a lot to, you know, how they raised you or how they guided you as opposed.
Yeah, they were very supportive. I mean, my parents were great in that sense.
Yeah.
Really, we're just like, we don't really care what you do as long as you're enjoying it and you come home happy every day. So,
Yeah. That's
It was
cool.
good. And
Cool.
that's how I treat my kids. That's how I raise both my boys.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right. So number three, thank you for sharing.
oh yeah, great questions.
After after so many years in post-secondary education and administration, you moved to Urban Promise, which is where we met. What sparked such a significant life decision? Middle school is a huge jump from a college marketing department. And it's also no secret, Francis, that you are a white man in an urban setting with predominantly students of color. What was that transition like for you? And more importantly, what is it about this community that makes you want to stay?
All right. So
Because
what
you're
sparked?
involved in all aspects of the school and very
Yep.
beloved.
I'm either all in or I don't do anything. So
Hmm.
it's not worth it, you know. Um, and an urban promise, it just speaks to you need to be all in, I think. But regardless, backing up, what made me leave the college? Um, to be honest, the main reason was we all got COVID here at the house. I got it the worst. Probably should have gone to the hospital, but it was in the early days and we didn't know that. Um, but excuse me, after my wife and my two sons both got it, uh, Jane, my wife and I, we sat down. And, we were like, "What are we doing?" Like, that was crazy, and maybe it's time to try something different. Not that we were in a major rut or anything, unhappy. I loved my staff. I loved the college. I loved the mission and everything. But I think it was time. I had always wanted to teach.
Mm.
Never really took that plunge. I taught at the college. I taught advertising design and computer illustration, typography, and everything. And I always enjoyed it. Um, so Jane, I'm just going to call my wife's name is Jane. She was like, I think it's your turn. You can do whatever you want. So we opened up a business and we did that for a little bit. And that business, they sold the building and we didn't want to reopen somewhere else. There was a lot of work to do that. So we closed. Um, so I was home. I retired from the college. So I wasn't really worried about anything in that sense. So I reached out to Jane, got hired by Urban Promise as a teacher, and she told me all about it. And I went to their website and looked at it and everything. And we're both very outdoorsy people. We camp, we hike, canoe, pretty much everything. Um, so I called them to volunteer for their outdoor program, to go camping and take the
Oh,
kids.
that's how you started?
That's how I
Oh,
started.
okay.
But I didn't even get there because when I was talking to the HR people, the conversation came up about my background at the college. And as soon as I said that I had taught for, 15 years at the college level, she was like, "Well, we have three openings." And the first one they said was math, and I was like, "Nah, you don't want me teaching math." The second one was science, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, and I could probably do science." And then they were like history, and then I was like, "Yeah, and I know I can do history." They called me in, and I don't know, 3 days later, I was hired. So, and the last part of that question is a white guy coming into a school like that, right? And it was something that I gave thought to, right? I mean, I don't think it's responsible not to think of that as you're going into a school that has, predominantly African American and Hispanic students. Um, and I guess I don't know. Looking back, I don't know if I was really worried about it too much. Um, and I think that's my competitive side. Things don't really faze me. I when I get challenged, I take it as a challenge. Like I want to beat that, right? It's not gonna take over me, and it's not gonna beat me. Um, so I kind of went in with an open mind. Now, middle school is completely different animal than college. That was probably the biggest shock of everything. I mean, I think for the first week, every day I was driving home, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, what did you get yourself into?
Right.
Right? Like, what was I thinking? Um, but it's just the kids. I mean, they're great. I mean, you just you get to know these kids and you know their stories and you know their problems and you know their victories and what they want to do and it's just how can you not do anything but want to help these kids, you know? Um, and I did scouts. I did scouts for I think 10 years with my boys. Coached soccer for a while, like 8 years with them. Um, So it wasn't like I was a camp counselor with my sister's husband was a Congregationalist priest. So every summer I would go uh, up to Connecticut and Martha's Vineyard to counsel at summer camp for the church. Um, so helping kids it wasn't anything new to me really. Um, but yeah, I mean, you just grow to love the kids, and you just want to see them succeed and get the best out of life. And they got their whole lives ahead of them. You got to help them prepare. You know.
Yeah. And then and then you learn that it's not enough to just say that you want to help them and that you care for them. You got to get in there and really cultivate and earn their trust. And that is not easy to do. But at the middle school age, those kids are full of energy and they're honorable in their own way,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know?
I mean they're proud.
Yeah.
They really are. You know I think one of the biggest shortcomings of adults is you don't give enough credit to the younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it's
Yeah.
it's difficult to bridge that gap sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean they're fully functioning kids, like
Yeah.
mine's they're going a mile a minute. The job isn't you can't I don't think you can do the job coming in at 7:30 and leaving at 3:30. It's not going to be you got to do the deep dive. You got to get involved.
Yeah. And you do that in every aspect. So, you know what I wanted to ask you when you said that you went in for the interview when you were hired 3 days later. So, did you have to teach like a class? Did they watch you teach a class
Oh
first?
yeah. Yeah, they actually called and they were like, you got to come in and teach a class. And
Well, I
I was
bet
like,
that was
okay.
nerve-wracking.
It
Your
was because I
first.
had to do it the next day.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I remember I came up with an idea really pretty quick, and I remember running out to the dollar store to get all my stuff. And so what I did was, you know, this is the talk anyway. So what I did was I did a lesson, excuse me, for representation. No representation without without taxation, or taxation without representation. See, I actually teach that. So you can edit that part out. That would make me look a lot better. Anyway, so of course, that's where the colonists, before the Revolutionary War, this is one of the driving issues and purposes that we had the revolution was they were getting taxed heavily by the crown in England, and they weren't allowed to have representation in, laws and such. So I did a lesson on that. I came dressed as British soldier
Oh, cool.
as a representative of the king, and I think it was like a 3.5, 4 hour interview. So I did my lesson, and then we sat down and we talked, and it was a little nerve-wracking. You know, they were goofing off, and they wanted to see how I reacted, and so the interview wasn't really a true picture of reality in class, but it was good. So it was actually fun. I had fun doing it. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing.
of
All
course.
right. Let's dig a little deeper into this middle school thing. All right. So, as educators, we know it is challenging yet vital to establish trust and mutual respect in the classroom. The first thing I noticed when I met you was that you had a genuine vibe with all of the students, especially the boys. They seek you out for life advice. They want to play soccer with you during recess and gravitate towards you just to play catch with the football while waiting for their parents. They want to be near you. Um, and they want to share what's going on in their life with you a lot. Can you describe for us your intentional strategies for building that bridge? And how do you show up so authentically for them every day?
This is probably one of my favorite questions that you have for me. Um, I I don't really have a strategy, so to speak. I mean, if being yourself is a strategy, then that's my strategy. I think the biggest mistake that adults can make is to be fake or false or something that you're not, because I think they pick up on that. And and honestly, I really didn't even think about it. I just really just went in and was myself. Um, I think. I think it was it's important, it's a challenge, right? But I think it really is all about building relationships with the kids and building trust. Um, because I think once the kids know that you're sticking around, you're not leaving, um, and you're not judging them. And although there are times when you have to yell at them because they're not listening, but I think just being myself is what I do. I mean, I I like to goof off. I joke around in class, and I mean, I have had multiple difficult students who, they're wise cracks and everything. And I mean, I just kind of turn around and throw it right back at them. I don't, you know, and I probably have had 5 students who were extremely, excuse me, difficult. And, you just show them that you're not like a chump or you're not going to just sit back and take whatever they dish out. And I don't know, it seems to be working. I had a girl, she's now a sophomore in high school. So this is my first year. And I remember um, she was really kind of timid and she wasn't really very open with me in the beginning. And then probably around the third month, things started to change. And then at the end of the year, I remember her coming up to me and she's like, Mr. P, she's like, I just didn't know you. I didn't trust you. I was like, here's this white guy coming in to teach in the school. And she's like, I thought you were going to last maybe a month. And she's like, I was totally wrong. And she was like, she's like, once I trusted you, she's like, I really enjoyed being, your student. And that stuck with me. That made me feel really good. Because like I don't actively try to do that. I just try to be myself around them.
Yeah.
So
And for most of us, that's easier said than done because, we all know that kids, especially probably middle school age kids, know how to push your buttons. And, you just never know what's going on in people's lives. And sometimes you might catch them on a really tough day and they come and take it out on you in some way. But you've learned not to take any of that personally. And you also, and I've seen you in action, you also take some of that energy and are able to express your vulnerability around it. Like, you know, that kind of hurts my feelings. And let me tell you why. And let's talk about this, right? So you really appeal to the humanity of the students, and students can't help but respect that. So, talk a little bit about how you built that ability to be so vulnerable with kids when they can get to you. They can get you to a place where you just want to walk out of the classroom. Have you done that before? Have you just like walked out like, I need a minute?
Only, only once.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done it once.
Hmm.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was my first year there. With the current eighth grade, they were in sixth grade. They were a rough group. So, but if any of you are watching, you know I love all of you. So it's all good. So, but I, it's I think it's only right and fair for them to know that you're human too. Like
Hmm.
I'm not this I can be a mountain and I can be that foundation that you need when you need it. Like, I've had kids crying and and everything. I can do that, but um, I'm a human too. I mean, and I tell them all the time, I'm the first to admit when I make a mistake. I'll be like, oh, I apologize. I made a mistake. And
Hmm.
you know, I'm actually known for that with the kids. Like,
You are.
yeah, I mean, and I think they respect that. And
They do.
I will, by all means, if I get mad at somebody and I'm wrong, I will go and I will apologize to them right in front of everybody in the class. And I will tell them
Hmm.
that I was wrong and I will try not to do that again. I probably will, but I mean, but yeah, I mean, they got to see as human. It's not like I'm some hardcore robot with no feelings, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I do think that helps build that whole trust
Yep.
and the ability for them to open up and relate to you. And it's funny. It's like breathing, or or your heartbeat. I don't actively search to do that. I guess I just do that. At least that's what Jane tells me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. I love that about you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
And know that the people who are drawn to this video need to hear whatever we're talking about. And so we're making an impact today, I promise you. All
That's
right.
good. I like that.
So, number five,
Hmm.
Francis, I've talked to you about this. So, thank you for being willing to talk about this next part. We all experience watershed moments of peaks and valleys, but I can't imagine what you and your family endured losing your home to a fire just, I believe it was just 2 years ago.
It was a year ago Christmas.
Wow.
Well, 2 weeks before Christmas.
You literally lost so much. Can you
Yeah.
share how this devastating tragedy impacted your perspective? And what was your mindset during the overcoming phase? And has it changed how you view kind of like the chaos of life right now that's going on now?
Well, it certainly teaches you to appreciate the people in your lives and not so much the material things, but definitely the people in your lives and those who are close to you and who care for you. And during that process, it's amazing the people that come around. Some of these people I hadn't talked to in 15 years. Coming and offering help and everything. It's a very
Wow.
humbling experience. Um, the material stuff. I mean, standing outside on across the street watching your house burn, with everything that you had in it except your family and the dogs, was kind of surreal. Um, but everybody's upset, and you gotta pull through. I was obviously in a lot of shock, but it's you just come to realize that all that stuff is replaceable, right? I mean, we got out of there with the most important things, and anything beyond that is replaceable, and it makes you realize, wow, you're really holding on to some stuff that we probably didn't need to do. And we've changed how we do things,
Mm.
in that sense. Um, but we were very blessed and lucky. The school was amazing. Um, I think the fire started on Friday night, and by Sunday we were in a house that the school owned. Um, you
Urban
know,
Promise.
Urban Promise, yeah,
Right.
sorry. And my sister who lives up in Bordentown, they opened their doors and took us in and fed us and
Wow.
let us borrow their car and whatever. Oh, excuse me. We had friends from high school reaching out and giving us money, and I mean it was just a very, very humbling thing. And I remember sitting in my neighbor's kitchen. And the Red Cross, by the way, the Red Cross is an amazing organization. They came out, and I mean, I'm literally looking out the window of my neighbor's kitchen window watching the house burn. And they showed up, and I remember my neighbor tapped me on the shoulder. He pulled me into his front living room, and he was like, Fran, whatever you do, he's like, it's okay. Just say yes to anything they offer in terms of help. He's like, don't, because I was like, you're in the mindset like, oh, it's okay. I don't need the help.
Mm-hmm.
But you actually do. And that's where the humbling part of this all comes in. It really breaks you down to your base level of need. And it shows you that it's okay to open up and accept the
Help.
grace and the willingness of other people to help you in what's an amazingly tragic time of your life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we lost like everything. So, well, we didn't lose to the fire. The water and the foam took care of the rest. I think we pulled out some furniture of that from the house,
Mm-hmm.
um, where we were lucky, where the ceiling collapsed in on it and covered it from the fire. But most of it we lost. So I lost everything from when I was a kid, all the things my mother had made, and Jane lost all of her stuff up in it was all in the attic. The second floor up was destroyed. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So it makes you focus, and if anything, it kind of made me realize that, I think I'm doing the right thing right now. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be everybody, being a millionaire would be nice, but you don't need tons and tons of money to be happy as a person
Mm-hmm.
for what you're doing.
Right.
So,
Appreciate what you have.
yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Thank you so much for
Be
being
thankful for it
vulnerable.
because you might lose it. So,
Right. And you had some guardians looking over you. I
we
mean,
certainly did.
that your family got out and your dogs. So,
Yeah, I mean, if it had happened 2 hours later, I might not be talking to you.
mm, mm.
So we would all have been in bed.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
So, the final question. So, Francis, you've seen education from the administrative side, the union side, and now on the real front lines of the classroom. If you could share one piece of advice with either the Department of Education, incoming new teachers, or perhaps with parents and or society at large, who would you choose to speak to and what would your message be?
Boy, um, I think my message would be different for each one of those groups.
Okay,
So,
let's do it.
uh, but I think, all right, let's go through it if you want to do that. So, um, Department of Education, um, just remember who they serve. I think I'm a big proponent of equality in standards and curriculum and expectations. Um, I think, what happens in Camden should be the same that's happening in Princeton. What's happening in Trenton should be the same standards that, other school districts have. Um, so I would say push for, more equality. And I say that not knowing exactly, I've never really dealt with the Department of Education. So they may be trying to do that. I have no idea. But from my experience and what I've seen with Jane, her experience is I think that falls short, so to speak. And this, of course, this is my own personal opinion. It's not urban promises. Um, the incoming teachers. I think it's really all about relationships. Be confident in what you're teaching. Um, and don't it sounds weird, but don't treat it as a job. I mean, it is a job, right? But don't treat it as a job. Treat it as a walk down the future path of the future for these kids. I mean, you are the one who's guiding them down this path. And those kids, they need your involvement and they need your input and they need your guidance. Uh, and know that it's more than just a paycheck. And I think a lot of teachers are dedicated to that kind of you know path forward with the students. Um, Administrators, just try to understand um, what your teachers are going through and the challenges that they face on a daily basis. Um, we have a really good administration at Urban Promise, but that's a small school. So, in the larger schools, I think it's probably more difficult for the administration to be on the same page as everybody else. Um, and I think that hits it right. Oh, the union side. Boy, I mean, we can go on for like hours on the union side. Uh, how do you want me to answer that? The union.
You don't have to.
Oh, okay.
Because but what about parents?
Parents. Well, I'll speak from my own perspective as a parent. My biggest recommendation is just be involved in what your kid's doing. Um, check their grades, check in on them, but not so much that so it's a really fine line
Mm-hmm.
that you walk from being an authoritative figure, right? And being somebody who can empathize and understand, or at least even start to understand what they're going through. Um, these kids, they're bombarded daily by relationships, expectations for grades, their own fears and insecurities, right? So as a parent, it's really, really hard, I think, to juggle all that, right? Um, I guess just, I like my boys, we always sat down and asked them how their day was and checked in on them, and just that brief 20-minute interaction every day, I think makes a difference, right? Um, and excuse me, let them see you talking to your teachers, talking to the principal, checking their grades. They may hate you or not like it right now, but they will like it later. They're going to appreciate it at some point. Um,
Mhm.
I've had both my sons come to me and say, boy, I really hated when you did that, but I totally get it, and you know, I understand why you did it, and that makes a big difference, you know. Oh, and the other big one is when they come to you and for all the times you gave them advice and they're like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. And they actually come and say, you were right. That's even
Yeah. Yeah.
better.
Are you already starting to get that from the kids you taught who are now in high school? Are they coming back to you? And
Oh yeah, I have a good relationship with the kids that
that's
have
great.
graduated, and I see, so I also run the D&D Dungeons and Dragons group. So I have students that were my students when I started, and they still play every week or every time
Hmm.
we meet, which is every 2 weeks. So, but
That's
yeah, no,
that's
I have a
good.
good relationship with the students that have left. They come up and give me hugs, and it's nice. It's good to see them. It's fun to see them getting older and really maturing and becoming young adults, if we can actually call them that.
That's great. Thank you so much for taking time with me to
This was
have
great. I
this
really appreciate it. I loved it.
conversation. I know that Urban Promise knows that you are truly a treasure to the community. Um, I know that the students do and the community at large does. But thank you for all that you do. And it's having a tremendous impact
I hope
on
so.
um,
That's
on the
nice. I'm
community.
happy to know that. That's good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you
Well,
so much.
thank you. I really appreciate it. This was really fun.
Yeah, we got to do a part two at some point.
Absolutely. Come up with
Yeah.
6 more questions. I would totally do
A
that.
follow up. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks. Take
Love and
care.
light to all of you guys. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.